Hi, Shamima. How are you?
Hi, Vicky. I'm doing great. How are you?
All good. Thank you so much for joining us today and welcome everyone to the C5+1 Youth Council Expert Talks. My name is Aga Khan Foundation, and I am C5+1's Youth Council member from Kyrgyzstan. I will be moderating today's expert talk with our speaker. Now let me introduce our today's inspiring guest, Shamima Oshurbekova. Shamima has worked with OECD, UNFPA, and the Aga Khan Foundation on policy, communications, and advocacy, and currently focuses on refugee integration in France. Shamima holds degrees from Sciences Po Paris and OSCE Academy, and brings a strong focus on gender equality, youth empowerment, and human-centered policymaking. Before I give the floor to Shamima to introduce herself, I'd like to ask everyone to head over to the description of the video and assist us in evaluating the session by responding to the questions via the link. We really appreciate your feedback. And now I give the floor to Shamima to introduce herself.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for having me. I'm truly honored. I feel like you have introduced, you said quite much about me, but probably the other thing that I would love to mention about myself is policy analysis and, international relations and politics was always something that I was always interested in. This is why I did my bachelor's at Kimap University in International Relations and minor with a minor of international law. And but after conducting my internship, I'll be later talking about where and how. I kind of realized that development area is very much where I would like to continue my career path. So this is why I went for my second master degree, because at OSCE Academy I did politics and security, and then at Sciences Po Paris I did international development. But yeah, thank you very much again for having me, and I'm very excited to share my experience with a few lessons learned, as well as I don't know, let's say some recommendations with you guys.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Shamima. So to give a bit more context about the program behind this session, let me tell you about the C5+1 Youth Council. In 2016, the U.S. Embassy in the Kyrgyz Republic created a dynamic C5+1 Youth Council that brings together youth from Central Asia and Afghanistan with diverse backgrounds, leadership skills, and the mindsets for positive change. Since October 2023, the Center for Civic Engagement at American University of Central Asia has administrated the C5+1 Youth Council program with a grant from the United States Department of State. And the opinions, findings, and conclusions stated herein are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of the United States Department of State. The goal of the project is to develop a regional network of civically engaged and English-speaking youth leaders across Central Asia who work to advance C5+1 priorities. So before Shamima starts before she starts her presentation, I would like to ask everybody to head over to the description of the video and assist us in evaluating the session by responding to the questions via the link. We really appreciate your feedback. So moving on, Shamima, please go ahead with your presentation. We're ready to hear from you and we are very excited. So let me display the presentation just in a second.
Sure. We're all set. So, like you can all see, the topic that I will be talking today about is it's bridges, not borders, and the power of people-to-people connection. And the reason I have this photo of me with the class of OECD Academy from 2016 is actually first because there are the C5+1 members on the photo, but as well as you can see a groupmate of us from the UK. But this is actually showing, from my perspective, that in 1.5 years, all of us coming from different backgrounds with different languages and with different stories, we all came together, and in 1.5 years, we actually built a very, very strong network. And in 1.5 years, we all became very close, and up to like the graduation was in 2016, but up until now, we're always like in touch with each other. And whenever there is like, be that something political or be that something even like everyday life discussions, we all still discuss that today together, and we all share so many things in common. And this, from my perspective, this photo kind of shows the people-to-people connection and how important it is. This is why, you know, I went for a fun photo, but also I feel like a real photo for the first slide, let's say for the title of my presentation. And moving on, I would like to, I think, ABK, can you please move to the next slide? Thank you. So, of course, I think it is important to, first of all, to start with, you know, explaining why I personally think that people actually matters very much today, because, you know, from my own experience, I have been already in the professional world since 2017. And I would say that I have learned that whenever, you know, politics fail or whenever policies fall short, it's usually the people who are the peace builders. It's usually the people who bring the peace to the table. So this is why I feel like, of course, politics and policies are very important, but at the end of the day, it's the people who actually build the peace, and it's the people who actually are discussing all the possible opportunities for you know, for building trust. And like I said, trust is very important, and of course, it's not only the policies that are building the trust, but it's actually the people who are building it. And C5 Central Asian countries plus Afghanistan, of course, we have a very rich history, and we have always been politically and geopolitically located also in a very important, we have a very important location. This is why it is important for the youth of our region to be active and to be actively participating, be that in politics or be that in civil society. This is why it is important for us not to just concentrate on the local community level, but it is important for us also to consider the whole region, including Afghanistan, when it comes to cooperation. And especially now we all understand that the world is all the conflicts that are going on and all the wars that are going on. Again, we can see that on the ground, it's the people who are trying to build some connections, and it's the people who are actually the soft power, you know, they're the essential soft power for building peace or for bringing peace. And the reason I put this photo of mine is actually it's in 2017. I was working with a French organization. It was that was called Juris, and then we had interns from France and the US. And after like after a couple of years, I ended up conducting my master degree here at Sciences Po in France. So Amélie is French, and then my former intern Jeremy, he also ended up conducting his master degree here in Sciences Po. And so, as you can see, we are like the bridges between our community, but the youth are also like the bridges between not just like the region by itself, but also in general. We are like the bridges for the entire world, I would say, all the continents. And so, yeah, I think it's essential for us, for the people to connect with each other. And I will probably, the next slide, can you please move to, yeah. So the next slide is a little bit of background of me as my first bridge. So in 2011, I became an alumni of the Benjamin Franklin Summer Institute. And I would say that this first experience of mine as going abroad, but also as a global citizen, it shaped a lot about my understanding of, you know, like, first of all, of course, the world, but also the idea that, you know, we were participants from Central Asia, including South Asia, and then we had like participants from the US. And despite the fact that the backgrounds that we were coming from and the languages and the culture, it all was so much different. But at the end of the day, the conversations that we were having or the themes that we were discussing, be that leadership or be that culture, or we were even discussing about mass media and the influence that it has. At the end of the day, it felt like we are all sharing the same issues, and we were all coming to the solutions that still worked for like all of our countries. And this was probably back in 2011. This was the beginning of my interest in terms of like, you know, policy building, but also the understanding that at the end of the day, it's us, the youth, but at the end of the day, it's the people who are building these policies, and it's actually it's us, the people of the countries, who have this power, this soft power to shape the policies, or to shape the world that we're living in. And so the next slide is about my experience from the Parliament of Kazakhstan. As a KIMAP student, I did my internship in Astana, in the Parliament of Kazakhstan, and I feel like that was my first experience of democracy, my first experience of diplomacy in practice, because this was an opportunity of a 2-month internship with the Parliament in 2014, and it was for the first time that I saw how actually these political level agreements are being built, and these political level meetings are happening, and these political level official meetings, and then how, like, the coffee breaks are happening, and how the meetings after the official speeches are happening. And I realized back then that it was actually usually, or like we can say that most of the time during those coffee breaks discussion, or let's say during those dinner, that the people or the politicians would discuss and would have some breakthroughs, rather than during those pitching and speeches that they were conducting. So which is again showing that it's at the end of the day the people to people connection. And of course, this photo of mine is actually from me attending the Independence Day celebration here in Independence Day of Kazakhstan here in France, and that's also talking about me building lasting networks during those internships that I have been conducting, but also during those 4 years that I studied in Kazakhstan. So which is why I highly recommend the youth, because I'm sure that at AUCA or any other university across Central Asia, there are the students are all with different backgrounds, and I truly believe that it's very important for us to not just stay within our own community, but it's very, very important for all of us to like be open-minded and to connect with each other, to connect with other people of the countries of Central Asia or Afghanistan or any other region, because you never know, probably today, all those of you who are doing politics or international relations, you might be like, sitting next to the next minister or next to the next policy maker. And it's very nice to have those connections, because at the end of the day, whenever you will be talking about a country, of course, you will be like thinking about the studies that you have been doing there. But a lot of the time, you will be also thinking about the people that were there, with you, like the 4 years that I spent in Kazakhstan. At the end of the day, yes, my education is a very important part of it, but the main memories and the main connection that now I have with Kazakhstan are the people that I met, both during my studies, but also during my internships in the parliament. And actually, it was also the time when I met my supervisor, a very, very intelligent woman whom I very much look up to until today, and with whom I'm in really good context. And that she's also someone whom I go to when it comes to like career advices. So see, like at the end of the day, it's like me. I was a Tajik student coming with completely different background, and she's from Kazakhstan. But we both connected very well, and until today, she's like a very important part of my professional life. But also in general, I consider her as a very close friend of mine. So yeah, it's important to keep these ties and these. And it's important to think about networking during these opportunities. And after that theory with the parliament, another experience that I had was during my master, when I was conducting my master's with the OSCE Academy. So I became their first intern from the OSCE Academy with an organization or an NGO in Tbilisi. It was called the South Caucasus Institute for Regional Security. And in that association, we were mainly working and cooperating with people who were faced by the conflict within the country, but as well as outside of the country. And that was when I first also learned about the projects like participatory budgeting and also projects like Create. And I remember when I first attended the event that was hosted within the frameworks of the project Create, it was very, very interesting for me to see how through art and through education, like, people were raising awareness about the conflicts. And it was not like just one side of the conflict. It was always people from one side of the conflict and the other side. They would come together and they would come up with something, with a piece of art that would show the two sides of the story. And at the end of the day, you can just see and you can tell everyone feeling and being empathetic to both sides and never having just that one side of the coin, the story of one side. So that's why these two projects, I very much remember them very well. And I remember when I came back to Tajikistan, I was always like interested in implementing something similar or looking for something similar projects in Tajikistan, because it was truly inspiring to see how, and these were just like people from the local people with different civil society organizations, or just people from the art area, who were raising awareness and who were trying to show to the people that at the end of the day, it's the people on the ground who are, be that who are suffering or be who are also benefiting from peace and who are benefiting from security. And of course, during that internship, I also had the opportunity of doing a lot of like policy discussions and analysis on gender, because gender equality is something I am very much passionate about, and that's something that I also talk a lot about and raise awareness about, and that's something I consider very, very important. But I also had this opportunity of, I talking about the OSCE Academy at the Georgian TV, but also talking about our region. And I think at the end of those conversations, it was unbelievable, because when I was having the conversation on the TV and the questions were coming, it always felt that the interest and the discussions that are there, they felt so similar. The questions, the concerns of that were raised there. The concerns of the youth from Georgia that were raised, or like the same discussions that we were having with the youth of Georgia. It felt like we all have been thinking about the same things. We all have been like looking for the solutions for the same problems, and that really shows. And that's something that we really connected on, discussing those issues. And in the result of my representation there and my internship, there was actually a student who ended up applying for the OSCE Academy and became an alumni of the academy. And that was the first experience for that university as well. But he was also, if I'm not mistaken, the first Georgian student at the OSCE Academy. And a very surprising coincidence happened last year, because the alumni journal of the OSCE Academy, they usually post articles about different alumni. And last year, they posted articles both about me and both about him, and it was very nice. So we chatted a little bit about it, because basically I was the reason for him coming to the OSCE Academy, and today he's very much trying to build the connections between Georgia and Kyrgyzstan, at least, which I think is amazing. And during my internship there in Georgia, I was trying to build some memorandum of understanding with the universities there and with the universities back home in Tajikistan, because especially coming from the Pamir and Georgia, even by nature and everything, we have a lot of things in common. So, and of course, the mentality that is there, and the understanding and the vision, they are very much close. And these experiences, they show and they strengthen my belief in the fact that yes, people are very much connected to each other, no matter where we're coming from. And so the next slide is about my experience at the OSCE Academy, OECD organization. So OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and let's say the motto that they have is better policies for better life. And I think OECD was the opportunity where I actually had access to the regional policy shaping, because I was working with the Eurasia division on the Central Asia team, and I was helping in drafting 4 reports on the region, and the topics were starting with export promotion to ending up with the impacts of the war in Central Asia and the digital economy, and including trade. And I think this was the moment when I had the opportunity of actually trying to raise the voices of the local people during those reports, because for when we were conducting research, or when we were talking to the people on the ground, it was, of course, it was talking to the politicians, but it was also talking to the local NGOs and talking to the local people, and trying to hear them and trying to see what works best for them, and trying to shape or to those recommendations that we would provide at the end of any report, based on the need of those people, of the local people, and trying to be as empathetic as possible towards their needs and towards their concerns, and as well as to come up with the solutions that would work for them as well, not just on the political level. And something that I loved about at least my team and the OECD was that one never felt there, like, there was no ego and no titles between the colleagues, and we were all coming with different backgrounds, and I was, of course, the only Tajik on the team, but there were people with, like, years of experience with the titles and stuff. But when we sat to discuss those policies, or when we sat to draft those reports, or when we just had general conversations, one never felt that, oh, I'm an intern, I should, like, shouldn't really comment, or I shouldn't really, like, speak much, or I really love this. And I think this and I love the fact that the team themselves had a very, very deep understanding of the region, and felt very much empathetic, and worried a lot about the region itself. So this experience was a lot about networking, because I think something that Europe taught me a lot is networking is a very important part of our life, be that professional or personal. But second, that also taught me about that, no matter if you're an intern, never think small of yourself, because yes, I was an intern, but at the end of the day, I was also doing the work of a junior policy analyst, like drafting chapters of reports. And that important role of mine, it really made me see things more than just an internal, like feel myself, like feel as an intern only. So yeah, it was really truly an amazing experience, but also an amazing opportunity to actually, to actually shape those policies and shape those solutions for the entire region. I felt very privileged to be able to do that. And there are the reports that I've been part of. You can find the links to the reports on my LinkedIn in case you want to read them. I truly actually recommend everyone interested in the region to read the OECD reports on the region, because they are very, very well written, and they are very like they're not just statistic based, but they're also like based on the interviews that are conducted with the local people. And one can tell that a hard work was done during those writing those reports. And so after the OECD, the next thing that I would like to share with you is the general, something that I in general try to shape my career around is, it's inclusion, it's gender, and it's also the fellowships that I have been always trying to attend. Is so my main strategy, I would say, or something that drives me the most is empathy. And I believe that someone who is in these areas, let's say in development and in inclusion and gender equality, that someone should have this empathy for, for the work or for the people they are doing. Because like currently, I became mentioned, I'm working with a program, it's called European Settlement Program, and it's about refugees integration in France. And the lesson learned from that is because of course policies are important when it comes to dealing with refugees and with the process. But first of all, it's very important to make the people feel that they belong, to make them feel that they're safe, to make them feel that it's that their status never comes first. It's always us being human being with them being with them as human being. And there is no place for bureaucracy in these moments. It's just one human being talking to another human being. Or like because I worked with the UNFPA on gender-based violence, and also mentored through UNICEF youth in Central Asia. And I think something that the youth, my lesson learned from them was that the youth mainly did not really need us, the mentors, to tell them what to do or what's the right thing to do. They mainly needed us to trust them, to listen to them, and then kind of try to guide them, but never to tell them what should be done and how it should be done. And this was something that really taught me listening, like just sit and listen and trust the process, but also trust the people that you're working with. And I'm also an alumni of the John Smith Trust Fellowship, and there is this photo of me from an event, the debate event that we were having back there. And my experience in the UK, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the John Smith Trust Fellowship, but it's a 1 month fellowship in the UK where we people from Central Asia, mid-career professionals, would go to the UK, and we would learn from their from their experiences, be that the parliament or be that the local NGOs or international organizations, how they function in the UK, and come up with a project that we would like to implement back home, and learn from their lessons. And something that I learned is that if we want to make changes, we already have their organizations, we already have their associations that are already that went through those challenges, let's say, and that already came with solutions. Sometimes we just need to open, read more, explore more, do research more, and we will find our solutions. We don't really need to go we shouldn't really think that, oh, it's only our country, or it's only me who is facing this challenge. No, actually there are many other countries in the world who face the same struggles, and who already probably already overcome those struggles. So we just need to be open-minded and read more and do some research and try to learn about the other experiences. And I think this is an important point, where it's we don't need to really just focus on our region, because, for example, while writing the OECD reports, whenever we would recommend policy or a solution, we would also bring example from other regions or other countries that implemented that solution, and share their results with the country that we would write those recommendations for, and show that actually this is what the country did, and these are the exact numbers, and these are the results of the following solution that we are recommending, which is why we think it will be good for your country to implement this example as well. Yeah, so these are that's why, yeah, please, I think empathy is a strategy, and it's a very important one. And if someone tells you that empathy is weak, I would highly recommend you to not agree with that, and to think that it's actually it's not a weakness, it's actually a strength that you're having. And the next slide is about well, when I think it's important that people-to-people connection, we call it also, like I mentioned several times already, is the invisible infrastructure of peace. And here I'm comparing dialogue with doctrine, and empathy with ego, and shared actions and shared orders. So I brought an example already from be that the my internship with the parliament, or be that the official meetings that were happening here in OECD. It always during those small conversations, during those coffee breaks, and during those dialogues, that solutions were come, or breakthrough would happen, rather than during those the pitching moment and the speeches. And when I talk about technical expertise matters, but empathy connected those, that means like I just brought you an example, no matter what, when you talk to the preparing those reports for the OECD, when you talk to the politicians, yes, they know better, yes, they have the experience, yes, they do have the statistics, but the statistics is not just the main part of it. It's also, that's why it is very important during those reports to talk to the local people, to talk to them, to try to hear those local people and their perspective of this or that challenge in the country. And this is why it is important to also feel empathetic to that. So not just focus on the numbers, but actually try to hear the people, what they are saying, and try to build them the dots based on the statistics, but also what you heard from the ground. And and I think we will all agree that today, in 21st century, especially in 2025, geography does not define the connection anymore, and it's mainly the shared purpose that defines, and it's the intentions that we are all doing this or that, taking this or that decision And I think this is what should also, what we are all here today, why we are all here today, right? What are our intentions that we're having, or what are the intentions that we're coming with to the table? So this is why it's important to, like, that's why I said no borders, because we should be open-minded, and it's very important just to define first of all our intentions, and I think once we have a shared purpose, the intentions will be also very, very clear. And the next slide is, if I'm not mistaken, it is about the region. Why the region matters. These are photos from the UNESCO Nowruz Day celebration here in Paris, and I think why it is important for our region, to talk about, to have these conversations about people-to-people connection, but also in general try to raise awareness among the youth, and try to make the youth understand that they are the change makers, right? We hear a lot about the word change makers when, especially if you participate in events and presentations like this. And so we actually need to believe in the fact that yes, the youth are the ones who are leading the changes, and the youth are the ones who are building all these strategies. The youth, we are the future of the future generation and the future of the region, and this is why it is important that our region comes together, our people of the region come together, and we think of these strategies together based on shared experiences and based on shared struggles, and build, and really like try to be very resilient towards things that are not really true, let's say misinformation, and try to be very, very I would say empathetic, but also very much realistic about things on the ground. Yep, and I think the next slide is about next slide is my final slide, and it's more like a call for action to all of the listeners here. I want each of you to be the bridge, and I want each of you to be the bridge now, right? I don't want you to think that, oh, I'm just a, I don't know, freshman, or I just graduated, so I don't even have like a work experience. So I want you all to understand that no matter where you are at this point, be that in a career or in education, you are already the ones who are the bridges between your countries. You are connecting. You're coming from 5 Central Asian countries, including Afghanistan, let's say, and studying at American University of Central Asia, University of Central Asia, or Kemet University. You are building those connections, so you are being those bridges, right? And I really, really encourage you to have conversations, to have discussions, to actually become mentors for each other, and even if you're like someone who's older and then there are like the youth coming after you, be the mentor for them. But also I really encourage you, like these exchange experiences that I had with the US and the UK, they helped me a lot to learn about the practices that were done outside of our region, and things that I could bring to the region. So yeah, highly recommending the youth to join those exchange programs. But also I think it's very, very important that, like I put here, like people to people work happens in classrooms, cafes, and WhatsApp. So yeah, you don't need to wait until you become a diplomat and then you say, okay, now I can actually bring some change, or now I can actually do something about it. No, once you are from different countries sitting in a classroom or in a cafe, you're already building something new. Like today we can see that people from all over the world, like students with different backgrounds, are building like podcasts together, and they are raising issues, and they're having conversations on those issues, and they're coming up with solutions. So yeah, it's very simple. You can do it no matter what and no matter when. And this is why I want to finish with a question, with something I invite all of you to ask yourself today after this presentation is, if today you would reach out to someone, but not for help, but for connection, who would that person be? And I highly recommend you do that. If, let's say, if you had someone on your mind whom you thought that is coming from a different country, different background, but there were things that you always felt that you could discuss with that person, or there are things or activities that you thought that you could actually bring to the table with that person and promote with that person, I would highly recommend you to do it today, to do it now. Go and reach out to that person and have that discussion and have that conversation with them, and build that initiative with them. So yeah, this is something I want to let you with, and let's keep building together. I left here my LinkedIn QR code for you in case you want to connect or you want to discuss more in details or you want to have more discussions. But I guess questions, stories, or ideas, if there's something you want to share, they're more than welcome. And thank you very much again for listening.
Thank you so much, Shamima. It was just a great presentation. It was very insightful and informative. So I would like to ask everyone to head over to the description of the video and assist us in evaluating the session by responding to the questions via the link. We really appreciate your feedback. And I would like to quickly remind you about the C5+1. C5+1 Youth Council is a diverse group of university students from Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. Every new year, in person and virtual Youth Council members from Central Asia countries and Afghanistan are selected among students representing local universities in Kyrgyzstan based on open competitions, which includes application review, interviews, gender balance, diversity, and genuine interest in Youth Council objectives. Currently, the C5+1 Youth Council network consists of 186 Youth Council alumni and 49 Youth Council members. The Youth Council reinforces the US Central Asia C5+1 joint goals of the C5+1 platform, and the Youth Council members and alumni conduct their own youth-led projects that align with the C5+1 platform agenda: peace and security, economic growth, energy and environment, and people-to-people connections. So this was about the C5+1 Youth Council, and now I would like our participants to hear from you. We would like to hear from you, and please, what was the impact of this session on you, and what did you learn from the session? And please give any feedback on the session. You can just open the comment section and leave it all here. And now let's proceed with the questions. So the first questions we have is from Dilan Guess. What skills or mindsets are most important for young people who want to become bridge builders?
Like I said, I think first is lead with empathy. I feel like I thank you very much, Dlengis, for the question. I feel the fact that you're asking this question is already showing that you are leading with empathy. And the next would be communications. And I think communication skills are very, very important, especially if you want to be the bridge builder. And lastly, I would say open-minded, because we are all very different, right? We can't even be the same even when we're a brother and sister. We're very different. Just imagine you're coming and trying to build connections and trying to build, let's say networking with someone from completely different background. Absolutely, open-mindedness is very, very important here. And I think curiosity is also a very, very important aspect of that, because you probably are curious about something, and this is why you want to build it with someone else. So yeah, definitely these skills, and that I think would really help you in building the bridge.
Thank you. And one more question from Dilan Yes is, what's one moment in your life that showed you the real power of people-to-people connection?
I think, this is a good question, because I feel like so many events are like crossing my mind now. But I think when I came to France, I came to a completely different country. I knew no one here, and in 6 months, I remembered it was the first time when we sat with the girls from my from a class, and then we were discussing, and we during classes everyone was like very chill, and everyone was just very focused on education, very focused on learning something, and none of us ever shared the challenges that we were going through as migrants in France. And that one evening when we all sat, we just started sharing very, very simple examples of everyday challenges that we go through, but we would still not show it, because we thought that, I am the only one who is going, let's say, through language challenges or even through the administration processes, because also coming from Central Asia to a country like France, the administration system is so different. And that's something that I always felt like probably it's because I'm coming from a completely different country. That's why I'm facing these challenges, and things are very difficult for me. But then I realized that there are people who were either from Europe, many other countries, who also like face those challenges and like think the same way, that oh yeah, I'm the only one who's facing it and not sharing it. So yeah, I think that evening was the moment when we first started crying, like the group of six people, like, crying about how hard life is outside of like our home countries, and how it's never easy, the first months of like adaptation when one is in migration, no matter as a student or as for professionals. But and that was the moment when I think I also realized that after that day, we all became very, very close friends, but also we all became kinder to each other. We had that source now where we could see people and again discuss the challenges that we are facing, and just the fact that we could sit and talk, it helped us so much, to like leave, to like get rid of that negativity that was like that we were holding inside for about 6 months. This is the moment I think that cherish forever, because I made also truly amazing and real best friends.
Amazing, thank you. And the next question is from Adina. How can young people in Central Asia effectively engage in policymaking processes, especially when they may feel their voices aren't heard?
I think there are first through NGOs. I truly believe in the power of civil society, and I think when civil society is really, really like very. Like civil society works together, that's the main source of like people. Of course, like once you're alone, it's way harder, but try to find the like-minded people who are there around you, and try to build the beliefs, and to promote and to raise awareness with the like-minded people. But then next is, of course, you can always like, I do believe that you can also always reach out, to the governmental structures to raise the awarenesses that the concerns that you have. Because yes, I understand you feel like your voices are not heard, but have you used all the resources that you have? For example, American University of Central Asia is an amazing, I think, university where you can go and you can raise your concerns. So you need to always find the like-minded people, but then look for the resources. Like I said, it could be your university, it could be the NGOs, and it's the civil society. I do believe in the power of the civil society.
All right, thank you. The next question is from Toronai. How can youth in the C5+1 region build empathy across cultural and national divides, especially when political narratives often highlight differences?
I think it's like I said, it's by coming together. It's sharing experiences. It's during those events that you do, let's say, raising awareness about the cultural differences that we have, a culture evening, and then you all do different things. Let's say that cultural dance, or I don't know, a cultural art performance. So you just share a story about your country, and this is when I feel like this is when the more we talk about it, the more awareness is raised. That's when the politics, because first of all, of course, we all should be educated, and we should never feel trust the misinformation that's going on. But second, it's again people who come together and who share their with open mindedness, of course, and who share the differences that they have, but also understand that those differences that we have, they are actually there's something that should unite us and not something that should divide us. I think it's important to have the pluralistic approach to the fact that we're all different, and to accept that we are all different, and at the end of the day, just to find where those differences actually make us stronger, and lead by that. Yeah, pluralistic approach is very, very important here.
Thank you. The next question is from Erkayim. What advice would you give for youth-led initiatives aiming to create global change through people-to-people connections?
I think I would say this is a very good question, and I would say probably go to the organizations or associations or international that are already doing that. And I feel like the youth of today is like very, you guys are very, very lucky, because you can go on Instagram, or you can go on any other social media, and you will find a podcast, or you will find some other youth in another region, already, or another country doing similar projects. So you can learn from their experiences. You can learn from them what they have done, and then you can bring something to your own region, or to your own initiative, or to your own country, and then implement it. And always look for like brands, like either with embassies, or either with any other international organizations. So try to like, depends on what is your initiative. Let's say, for example, if it's something about education, so you go to UNESCO, and that's a source where you can start. If they won't be able in terms of like providing the finances, at least they will be very good in terms of like guiding, like where to go, what to do, as well as in networks, because these kind of big organizations have huge network, and they will definitely come. There will be support. So yeah, I think that keep asking, like never feel like shy, or never feel like embarrassed to ask for help, but also embarrassed to ask for guidance. And trust me, there are people who are willing to help and who are open to help. But also I think like all the initiatives that people usually come up with, of course there may be a few that have never been like practiced anywhere else, but I'm sure that the majority of those initiatives have already been implemented somewhere else. So just do a good research of where it was implemented and try to take something from that initiative.
And thank you so much. I would like to ask everyone to head over to the description of the video and assist us in evaluating the session by responding to the questions via the link. We appreciate your feedback. And let's do the last question from Malika. Excellent talk. Wondering to know more about the challenges that come up while trying to build the network among young people and others through empathy, communication, and curiosity, as you mentioned. And examples from your experience are highly appreciated.
Thank you very much for the question, Malika. And the challenges, I think, is, well, I consider myself very an extrovert, so that was never a challenge for me, to just go and reach out to people, because for me it was always like part of my it's in my nature. So I think that one of the challenges, but that I felt like a few friends of mine have faced this. They were very shy in reaching out to people. They were very shy. They were unsure about the initiative or the idea they were having, so they would just prefer to like leave it behind and not do anything about it. My recommendation would be, if you have an idea, just go for it. Just start the initiative, and then you will see if it works or not. And yeah, networking is absolutely your source of implementation, because networking is usually, these are the people who are the resources who will help you to implement this or that initiative. And this is why communication and curiosity is important, because once you're curious and you have good communication skills, then you definitely will be able to build those networks and to implement whatever project that you have on your mind. And empathy, again, I think us having this connection and building this people-to-people connection is, again, it's led through empathy, because we are the people, and I'm sure that you guys should be the people who actually care and who are actually want to build a better world, build a better future. And be change makers. And this all comes from the feeling of empathy that you have for your country, the empathy that you feel towards your people, but also the empathy that you feel towards the world. So just go for it. You have an idea.
Thank you. And this is the last question from Erkayim. I also wanted to ask, what was the most unexpected lesson you've learned from someone very different from you? Because in people-to-people connections, especially, we encounter different people and learn.
I think it's more about the background that we're having, because coming from Central Asia to a country like France, of course people are very, very, very different here. And I feel like in Central Asia we a lot try to be very, very soft in terms of expressing let's say not really criticizing stuff, but we're also not like when someone criticizes us. But here in France, I actually learned that criticizing is actually so important, because first of all, once you criticize, let's say something, that means you have been analyzing it very, very longly and for a very long time. And once you go and talk about it, something bad, it's actually something that it's with, of course, with good intentions. If you go to someone and say, hey, listen, let's say I will ask a friend after this call, what do you think about my presentation? And I should be fine with the critics that my friend comes to me, because that should be something that I should look forward to in order for the next time to be better than, rather than I would want my friend to be rather than nice and be like, yeah, great. So in this case, like my friend was not really honest with me, and I did not really learn much from it. So this is something I learned from people in France, because people in France are so open. Like they say, you know, if there is something in their mind, they'll just tell you, but they will like say it with good intentions. So of course, unless someone does it with good intentions and there is love there, I think this is something that I learned, because I was also someone who was like, I would really hesitate. Felt fell short because I just didn't want to upset them. But now I learned that it's actually for the benefit of the people, you know, to actually come and share be like honest with them. But again, there should be love, and you know, do it politely.
Thank you so much, Shamima. It was very, very insightful, and I love the questions. They were very interesting. And now let me quickly remind you that in 2016, the U.S. Embassy in the Kyrgyz Republic created the dynamic C5+1 Youth Council that brings together youth from Central Asia and Afghanistan with diverse backgrounds, leadership skills, and mindsets for positive change. And since October 2023, the Center for Civic Engagement of the American University of Central Asia has administrated the C5+1 Youth Council program with a grant from the United States Department of State, and the opinions, findings, and conclusions stated herein are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of the United States Department of State. And the goal of the project is to develop a regional network of civically engaged and English-speaking young leaders across Central Asia who work to advance C5+1 priorities. And the C5+1 Youth Council is a diverse group of university students from Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. Currently, the C5+1 Youth Council network consists of 186 alumni and 49 members. I would like to remind you that today's speaker is Shamima Oshurbekova. Shamima has worked with OECD, UNFPA, and the Aga Khan Foundation on policy, communications, and advocacy, and currently focuses on refugee integration in France. Shamima holds degrees from Sciences Po Paris and the OSCE Academy, and brings a strong focus on gender equality, youth empowerment, and human-centered policymaking. Shamima, as we come to the end of our session, is there any last piece of advice or recommendation you'd like to share?
I think, like I mentioned before, well, first, thank you very much again for having me. And I hope this was people listening really learned something from this. And please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn if there are questions or discussions that you wanna that you have. But yeah, it's definitely be the bridge. And now, like start now, build connections, build networks, but please bring initiatives. This is the opportunity for everyone. There are so many opportunities, you know, for the youth now in our region to raise their concerns, but also to be the change makers in the community. And you are the future generation, so it's best, like, you know, if you start today. And again, yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Truly appreciate it. And yeah, good luck also to the team, BK, and you guys are doing an amazing job. And I think this is really, really important. The themes that you are talking about, they're very, very important. And it's amazing. The youth have this, you know, opportunity to learn from experts around the region as well as around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would like to ask everybody to hear over to the description of the video and assist us in evaluating the session by responding to the questions via the link. And we truly appreciate your feedback. Thank you for joining our session, and please stay up to date to our pages on Facebook, YouTube, Telegram, and Instagram. So bye everyone, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Shamima. Have a great continuation of your day or evening, and bye. See you.
Very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.